How are you today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Great. Let's see, you have a ticket for following too close,
That is correct.
and you are indeed eligible for a deferral on that ticket. Would you like to do that?
No, Your Honor.
And have you read the officer's report?
Yes, a while back.
Okay. So I'm going to take a moment. It's fairly lengthy here, so take a few moments, I guess, to read it. All right, Mr. Dory, if you'd raise your right hand for me. Swear the testimony in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I swear.
Okay. First of all, did you correct all the equipment violations?
Yes, Your Honor. And
Okay,
I
so
would like to add something to that, if I may.
go ahead.
So when this officer pulled me over, I had gotten the truck back from an insurance claim previously. It had been the first day I had received it back, and after not seeing the truck for about 4 months. And the truck was obviously not a I purchased the truck this way, and the truck was not within regulations or compliance with Washington state law. So as he wrote me that ticket, right 2 days after I purchased that, or I got that, I received the ticket, the infractions for the equipment violations. My Due to poor workmanship off the previous claim, my truck basically fell apart while driving, and then it was sent back to the shop for more repair. So I did not have access to my truck until about 2 weeks ago, in which I had all the parts ready to go, and the truck was compliant with all the infractions.
Okay, good. Talk to me about the following distance issues.
So I was late to work. I had gotten up and I was driving on the highway in it was the one day I actually didn't have my dash cam equipped due to the fact that I just received the truck from an insurance claim. I do not believe that I was too close to any vehicles. And getting off to the exit where I needed to get gas, I noticed in my rear view there were no sirens. It was this older pickup truck, right? It was this older F-150. It was a gray F-150. It had dents and dings all over the truck. It looked beat up. And through the glare of the sun, I barely saw flashing red and blue, two little light strips in the windshield. So I pull over. The officer comes to my window, explains that he's with the Washington State Patrol, then asked me if why I knew I was speeding. And I told him, officer, again, I'm sorry, or what's it called, why he's pulling me over. I was like, officer, I'm sorry, I'm not aware why you're pulling me over. I am leaving for the Army in January. And he said right there, I don't want to use profanity, but he said, cut the BS. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I said, do you know? Answer the question. Now hand me your license and registration. I said, yes, your officer. I hand him my license. I hand him my registration. He goes back to his vehicle. About 20, 25 minutes pass, and I look through my rear view, and he's on a cell phone. So I call 911 because it was an unmarked car. He didn't have a duty belt. He didn't have a badge. He just had a hat that said Washington State Patrol. He didn't even give me his name. And so I call 911 and I double check with them. I'm like, hey, am I being pulled over by a real officer? They look, they're like, there's nobody being pulled over or no officers responding to any calls within 50 miles of your location. We're sending a trooper your way right now. And as I see the trooper approaching in my side view, approaching the exit, this guy, the officer Gordon, runs out of his vehicle, runs to my window. And keep in mind, 911 dispatch is still on the phone at this point. He screams at me. He said, "Who the F do you think you are to call my dispatch and say I'm impersonating a police officer?" And the dispatch cuts me off because it's connected to my truck, and he hears the officer say, he's like, "Officer, please watch what you're saying." What's it called? He dispatch asked me to hand the phone to the officer. And I tell the officer, I was like, dispatch, he can hear you. And the officer looks at me like, I don't want to talk to the effing dispatch right now. And dispatch is like, okay, well, I'm gonna let you finish this traffic stop. And because right as soon as the state patrol was approaching, they confirmed he just then called it in that he was pulling me over. They told me to call back if anything happens or if any issues arises. So he gets really upset at this. basically says, I'm nobody to say that. I am in the wrong. And goes back to his vehicle. And now another 20 minutes passes, and he comes to my vehicle with the list of infractions for my truck. And he said I was following a vehicle too closely. And when I asked him what vehicle I was following too closely, he pointed out some random vehicle out of the hundreds of vehicles that were on the highway that he said I was following too closely, including him, when I was never in the same lane as him. I was keeping the first lane until I went to the left lane, and then I went back to the first lane before my exit. That was the only time. And then I ended up calling State Patrol, Washington State Patrol's office, and I gave them the case number. And at first they couldn't find it. Then they said they saw it. They transferred me. They were like, and I was talking to a sergeant, and he said that, oh yeah, you were driving a truck. He wrote you up for all this. And then I was like, yeah, I was driving a truck. And then he was like, wait a minute, this says a Ram 1500. I was like, yeah, it's a pickup truck. He was like, that's weird because the officer that pulled you over isn't a trooper. He's a commercial vehicle officer. It's very uncommon for them to pull over civilian vehicles. And that's what shocked me too, is why he pulled me over in the first place. And then he wrote me up for following a vehicle too closely. And I swear, if I had my dash cam, this would have made this court hearing a lot easier. But it was the one, like the day after I got my truck back, so I wasn't able to have my dash cam equipped. But at no point was I following a vehicle too closely. One, because as a child, I got into an accident with a friend, or my family friend was following a vehicle too closely. So that's kind of embedded into my brain, just like a muscle reacting just to not follow a vehicle closely. Like I'm anxious when it comes to that. I do not want to risk an accident. So I have more than a normal following distance when it comes to that. And then, yeah, that's what I have to say about the ticket, Your Honor.
Okay, so what do you think is the appropriate follow distance for your vehicle?
For every 10 miles an hour, I tend to have one car length of distance. So at highway speeds, what's standard, I would say, which is assuming you're going 60 miles an hour, 6 car lengths. But on the highway, I keep about 10 car lengths unless it is traffic and we're moving under 10 miles an hour, and then that fluctuates. But normally driving on the highway, I try to keep anywhere from 6 to 10 car lengths.
Okay, that's the right answer. However, in your case, it would be six car truck lengths, right?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, now he says that you were so close he couldn't even see your front license plate.
That's completely not true, Your Honor. I filed a complaint and everyone was shocked because 911 dispatch also had put in their notes how the officer was treating me, how he was using profanity and all of that. So I think it was more of a out of spite thing to come back 20 minutes after the call and write all those tickets, because at no point was I one in his lane, especially behind him. The only time I was in his lane is when I was switching to the left lane. At that point, I was in front of him. There was no point I was behind his vehicle.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you're asking me to find that he basically is lying under oath, which would get him fired. So I'm having a hard time buying that you were never directly behind him because he says you were directly behind him, and that's what caught his attention. Now, sounds like he was a little upset. My guess is because in his view, you came roaring up behind him and got so close that I'm guessing he had some safety concerns.
Yeah, no, I
But
completely understand, Your Honor. Like the only time I would possibly see that there was a chance that I was behind him was when I was merging onto the highway. But then again, I don't remember at any one point being behind his vehicle because I
okay,
noted that the vehicle was all this. Because again, I don't lie under oath. I have already been sworn into the military and I'm leaving January, and I'm trying to keep my record as clean as possible. So this kind of like having this just kind of put me in a setback. And again, Your Honor, if I had my dash cam, this would make this court hearing a lot easier. I already swore that everything I'm telling is the truth. And Your Honor, like if he has a dash cam, I wish he could pull it up, just to prove it. But at no point was I directly behind him, let alone the close. He said so close that he couldn't read my front license plate is astonishing to me. That means I'd have to be bumper to him, which is absurd to me. Which just thinking about it is it's giving me anxiety from that. Like I would never follow a vehicle that closely at any speed.
all right. And well, I mean, you read the statement, so I don't need to repeat it to you. He says that he watched you change lanes without signaling, and it was his description as an aggressive driver. And that you were following other vehicles as well, well within much less than the appropriate follow distance. All right. You know, I clearly have two different versions, your version and his version.
Yes, Your Honor.
Frankly, my view on this is that we as drivers we're probably the worst observers of our driving pattern.
100%.
Somebody who's watching us is going to have a much more accurate description of our driving than we are of our own. So I'm going to go with his version. I'll find committed on the follow too close, and that's $145. So just make sure you contact the court in the next 30 days to make arrangements to pay that.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Baldori.
You have a great day.
You too. All right. And then you also had a failure to yield ticket, I believe. You
Yes.
did. Okay. So you are eligible for a deferral on those two things. The ticket itself is $755. If you do a deferral, it would be a total of $220. And you have the potential of keeping that off your driving record. So you can contest it or do a deferral. It's your choice.
I don't understand the me having a failure to yield though. That's the whole
Okay, well, it's
thing
up to you. I haven't read the officer's report. I'll read it and then I'll decide it. But if I find you failed to yield, then it goes on your record, and that's a very expensive ticket.
Yeah.
Or you can do the deferral. It's up to you.
So I can't. I'm a
Okay,
little
so
sorry. I'm a little confused.
Okay, hold on. You had an accident,
Yes,
and did you read the officer's report?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. So you understand that when you're in a parking lot of a restaurant, you pull out onto a road, it's your job to make sure you can do so, and there's no other cars that have potentially hit you, and yet you got into an accident. You were T-boned as you were crossing the traffic to turn your direction. So if you want to explain to me how that wasn't your failure to yield, you're welcome to do that. I'm just summarizing what I see in the report, and you got hit as part of that. So you tell me, do you want to do a deferral on the ticket or do you want to contest it? And just remember, it's all on you, because as the person pulling out into the road, the whole obligation is you. It's not the other drivers to yield to you.
My
So just
whole
understand that.
Yeah, my whole question is I don't understand how I got a failure to yield when there was a train actively passing. So unless he was pulling out from where, unless he was pulling out of the driveway across the street at the same time, wouldn't that mean that we both get a failure to yield? Because
Well, we're
from
not
the
talking about.
direction,
Okay, go ahead.
sorry, from the direction that he was coming, there was a train actively passing, and the passenger that was with me can confirm that. So I don't understand where he was coming from if there was a train. That's my whole point as to why I don't understand how I got a failure to yield and he didn't. Because if he was coming out of a parking lot across the street at the same time, wouldn't we both be yielding?
Okay. Did you see the other driver coming from another parking lot?
That's why that was my whole question, is if there was something that I didn't see in the report of where the other driver was coming from, because there's no way that he was coming from the road if there was a train actively going by it.
It says another vehicle was traveling south on Highway 99 and struck you in a T-bone as you tried to cross over.
See, that's the part of the report that I don't understand is.
All right. So you were T-boned, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that tells me that as you're crossing the lane, a car that was moving on that lane struck you.
Yes, but.
So that means you didn't yield to that car that was traveling on the lane. There's no other scientific logic for it. Okay, so there, I've given you my best explanation. Your last chance, you either contest it or you do the deferral. You tell me.
I'll just defer it, I guess.
Okay. And make sure you contact the court in the next 30 days, make arrangements for the payment of the $150. And when you're pulling out onto a road, remember it's all on the driver pulling out. So if you happen to not see a car coming, that's on you. It's not on the car that was coming. So just understand that. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
And I found not committed on the no insurance. So you're all done. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, Mr. Franco, you have a speeding ticket. It says for 1 mile an hour over the limit. You are eligible for a deferral on that ticket. You can do that or contest it.
Like to contest it.
Okay. And have you read the officer's report?
I have to.
You have not?
I have to. Okay. Well, the speeding ticket, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to take a moment and read it, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, go ahead.
Your Honor, it's not necessarily contesting it, but actually asking for forgiveness. I am admitting I was speeding, very minor speeding, Your Honor. However, the case simply, I'm asking for forgiveness because I've never, ever received a speeding ticket in the state of Washington.
Okay. I mean, personally, I can forgive you, but I can't throw out the ticket based on the evidence. So, frankly, in this case, the best thing for you to do would be to do a deferral to keep it off your record.
So there's no forgiveness allowance that, Your Honor.
Well, I mean, in a sense, I guess there's forgiveness because it keeps it off your record. I'm willing to find that you were speeding and then reduce the fine, but it does go on your record. So really the best thing for you, I would suspect, would be to keep it off your record.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay, so come on up here and Amy will give you the paperwork. You'll just take it out to the front window in the lobby.
Yes, Your Honor.
All righty. You had a deferral 3 years ago. You're not eligible for a deferral on your speeding ticket. Did you read the officer's report on the deferral, on the speeding ticket rather?
I did, but it was a while ago. Can you remind me what it said? I've lost the paperwork, unfortunately.
You got a speed in the 60-mile-an-hour zone of 74 miles an hour at a distance of 796 feet.
How much?
74 and a 60. He cited you for being 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. So 61 and a 60, which he can do. And the reason officers tend to do that is because it significantly reduces the fine. So it's their way of giving somebody a break. They can't cite you for more than your speed, but they can cite you for anything less than your speed. So in this case, you got cited for 61 and a 60, even though you were doing 74, according to the laser.
Okay. Am I able, so you said no deferral. Am I able to, again, give my side of the story and see if there's any leniency or anything like that? Or, okay. So I guess my question is would I rather be going 60 miles an hour with semis flying by me and causing potential danger, or just having my foot off the gas and following the flow of traffic and then getting pulled over out of nowhere?
And you know what my answer is going to be, right?
Yes. So, so again, I guess like I just got the unlucky draw of the hand, or like, how do I know that I was the one that got lasered if he's not present?
Okay. Well, what he says in his statement and the way the laser works is he looks through the laser and it actually puts a dot on your vehicle. Usually they put it down near the license plate. And so they can see the vehicle through a scope, the one that is the subject of their laser. And it tells them to the 10th of a foot how far away you are at the time of the laser and the speed that you're going. So he had you, 74 miles an hour, whatever the distance was, 396 feet or 796, whatever it was. So the laser is pretty specific device.
Okay. Is there any?
So the answer to your question would be, the law says the speed's 60, the speed's 60. It's supposed to be 60 in the right lane, middle lane, left lane, even though everybody says the left lane's the fast lane. 60 is the speed in the left, middle, right. If you're going over 60, even though everybody else is, you're subject to getting a speeding ticket.
Again, like what he told me was I was going in low 70s, but now I'm hearing it's 74. So, but I'm getting cited for 61. That seems off.
Well, yeah, like I said, he did it because he thought you were a nice guy, I guess, and gave you a break. So that's why he wrote 61.
Okay. Is there any way I can get a break from you today? I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, you got a big break.
Like-
It's down probably almost $100 he saved you on the speeding. So it'll be $114 and just
Any way
contact
to
the court
keep
in
it
the
off
next
my
30
record, though?
days. Yeah, oh yeah, I can't keep it off because you did the deferral before. So you have 4 more years before you're eligible for another deferral.
Is there anything else I can do to try to, again, like, if I'm
You
contesting,
you can work it off. I'll let you do community service hours as opposed to pay the fine if the money's the issue, but
I just don't want it on
it's-
my record is the thing.
yeah, well, yeah, the only way to keep it off your record is if you weren't speeding. And I'm clearly satisfied that you were speeding.
Well, everyone is speeding coming down the hill, so that's the problem, I
Right.
guess. Is
Yep.
frustrating.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Mr. Murray. And Mr. Feaster, raise your right hand for me, please. Swear the testimony in this case to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat. You have a lot of tickets on your record, but
Extensive.
yeah, the amazing thing is you haven't used a deferral. So you're eligible for a deferral if you want to do that.
And I gotta go 6 months without getting another ticket.
I'd be really excited if you were able to do that.
I've been improving. You gotta see that I have been.
Yeah, I could see here.
Um,
I would love that leverage, frankly.
I want to contest it though, because
Okay.
I had somebody behind me that was following me.
Okay, it's your choice.
Yeah.
So you want to contest?
I had someone following me and I was in heavy traffic. The radar beam is 104 feet wide at 500 feet. And there was two cars in each lane in front of me, between the officer and one car in the fast lane passing me. And then there was 2 more cars and my friend that was following me in my other car. And I couldn't possibly have gotten an accurate reading because there were so many vehicles. I was completely surrounded by vehicles. There's no way I could have been doing that fast unless all the vehicles were traveling that fast. There was 2 vehicles behind me and 4 vehicles, 2 would be in each lane in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Unless all of us were traveling that fast, I couldn't have been doing that fast.
I can't imagine cars on I-5 going all over the speed limit.
And the officer included. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't have been going that fast. There was 2 cars between him and I in each lane, and 2 cars behind me, plus then my friend behind that. A semi to the right side of me, and a car passing me in the right fast lane on the left side.
Okay. Now remember, there is no fast lane. It's the left lane.
Okay, left lane.
The speed's the same in every lane, even though people think differently, but it's.
Yeah, they call it
that's
fast
not
lane.
it.
I mean, everything I've read says that there's a possibility that it could have been, because in heavy traffic, the bigger rigs put out a bigger signal.
Yeah, they do. There's truth to that. Okay, so you're going to catch a break here because the officer said he used his rear-facing antenna, which means you were behind him approaching him, but he doesn't tell me what lane you were in, which would be important for me to know in this case. He said you were in the left lane, the fast lane, but he doesn't tell me what lane he was in. So because he doesn't tell me, I'm going to give you a break and find not committed on the ticket. So let's, this doesn't count as you driving better. So let's start from this one and try to have a longer period of no tickets, okay?
Certainly.
Okay, all right.
I'm tired of paying tickets, so I definitely am ready to go.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Fieser. Jeremy Rem.
How you doing, Your Honor?
Mr. Rem, great. How are you today?
Doing good.
Okay, let's see what we have here. You up at JBLM?
Yes, sir.
You in the barracks or in quarters?
In the barracks.
Okay. What rank are you? 06, 05?
No, I'm a specialist, E4.
Yeah, I don't know many 06, 05s that live in the barracks.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, it would be crazy. Probably ruin the whole vibe of the barracks, don't you
Oh.
think?
Definitely.
Yeah, totally. We just want barracks full of E4s and E3s. Yeah, people who are a little more fun to be around.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's take a look here. Where are you from?
I'm from Virginia.
Okay,
Born and raised.
DC area or out in the country?
Richmond, the capital.
Yeah, okay. I was briefly stationed at Fort Lee, so
Okay, I went to AIT when I went back, came back from basic. I went to basic in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and then went to AIT in Fort Lee for mechanic school.
you have a speeding ticket. You're eligible for a deferral on the ticket.
Okay, yeah, I'll do the deferral.
Okay, very good. All right. So Specialist Rem, just contact the court in the next 30 days to make arrangements to pay the $150, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, thank you, sir. You have a great day.
All right. What unit are you with?
Oh, I'm in 423, a part of 22 ID on north
Okay.
side.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I used to be 2ID too in Korea. So
I just got back from Korea in June also from rotation.
where?
Camp Humphreys.
Yeah, it changed. When I was there, Humphreys was nothing but just a stop. I was up at Casey and then at Stanley.
Okay.
But yeah. Yeah, you know, I had the real hardship. You had the easy duty there at Humphreys.
Yeah. I spent some time in my Rodriguez live fire up there
Okay.
towards the DMZ.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, that's what it felt like where I was all the time.
And it was cold. It was very cold.
Yeah, it was. And my hooch didn't have any heat. You know, the water leaked everywhere. It was miserable, but it's way more miserable in my memory than it probably was in real life.
I believe you. It's pretty bad up there.
Yeah. All right. Good talking with you.
Thank you. And
Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Yep.